Hey, this is John Bartlett with Brentwood Growth. We're on the Sale or Scale podcast, and I'm pleased to have Jillian Colquitt with the Flint Group with us this afternoon. Jillian,
Yes. Hey, John, how are you?
thank you so much for taking a few minutes to share with us.
I'm so excited to be on. I appreciate it and so excited to just have this conversation with you.
Cool. Well, tell us just quickly about your background and a little bit about the Flint Group, how it sort of came together, and the kind of investments that you guys are looking to make today.
For sure. So I'm happy to just kind of kick things off with an introduction of myself. My name is Jillian, and I lead our M&A function here at Flint. I'm currently living in Kansas City, Missouri, where our headquarters are, but I'm originally not from here. I'm from a small town, Auburn, Alabama. I was born and raised there and then ended up attending school at Auburn University. I studied finance and then ended up moving to New York City after to do investment banking. So I worked in general M&A investment banking, working with HVAC companies, as well as others kind of in the broader consumer products and services industries, and ended up coming over to join the Flint team last year. And I quarterback all things M&A, so trying to find companies for us to buy and drafting and submitting bid letters. And I'm involved in kind of all of the diligence stages from signing an LOI to closing a deal.
Yeah, and we'll get into that process
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
moment. Tell me quickly about Flint.
yeah,
Who is the Flint Group? How did they come together?
yeah.
Where are they today? What are in investment sectors that
Mhm.
you guys are interested in now?
Yes, would love to share that. So, Flint Group is a collection of home service brands around the country that provide HVAC, plumbing, sewer, and electrical services to residential customers. So, the brands that we own predominantly service single family homes. And we are actually relatively, young still. We were founded in 2019 by Colin Hathaway and Trevor Flanagan, who both just have over a decade of experience in this space. They're fantastic. Colin was the founder of Wrench Group, actually, if you're familiar with that,
Yeah.
and Trevor has been everything from call center manager to general manager. To owning his own vendor company for residential service companies. So they've been kind of a dynamic duo, and it's been such a big differentiator to have that deep kind of operating experience in the space. But Trevor eventually built out like his own operational playbook, and Colin had this just amazing M&A toolkit, and they came together and acquired their first company in Portland in 2019 to kick off Flint Group. And fast forward to today, we own 12 brands across the United States. We're super, excited and proud of how much we've grown organically. That's kind of our thing. Last year we grew 76%,
Oh,
which
wow.
was half M&A and half
Yeah.
organic. So we've been really excited about that. We kind of built out this powerhouse team of other industry experts at the corporate level here to support each one of our brands.
And so and that's a great story. So the specific sectors you mentioned HVAC.
Mhm.
What are the other ones?
HVAC, plumbing, sewer and drains, and electrical.
Okay, okay. So when you're thinking about an HVAC company or a plumbing company, or electrical or
Mhm.
sewer and drains, what types of companies are interesting to you in terms of size, in terms of what their
Yeah.
revenue mix looks like, in terms of the number of employees, in
Mhm.
terms of the infrastructure and the processes that have been built out? Talk a little
Mhm.
bit about what makes a company attractive to Flint.
Yeah, that would be great. So I can kind of walk through, some criteria that we
Yeah.
think about. Size is one. So we typically think of like 10 million in revenue as our floor, mainly because we feel like at 10 million in revenue, the company has enough scale to kind of run our playbook.
Mm-hmm.
Geography is another one. So we like to invest in companies that are in larger markets, and we like cities that are, at least 10 million in people, like population. I know some of our competitors are more focused on kind of like a region of the country, which we don't look at it as much like that. We just like that kind of 2 million in population.
If they have a pro sports team there, then that's
That's
going
a
to be
great
big.
way to think about
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
That's a great way to think about it. And then as far as service type goes, like I said, I the trades that we're in, and we're largely residential install service.
Mm-hmm.
We like strong brands, like a brand that's been, in the market a long time, and is well known in the area. And we love, kind of on going on that theme, just strong cultures and companies that have, good reputations in their communities.
So you've done 12 acquisitions that you've said. Talk a little bit about the profile of the owner of the 12 acquisitions that you've done.
Yeah.
How old are they? Where were they in life? What caused them to want to have a liquidity event?
Hmm.
How was the deal structured? And we can touch on the different components of that. And then what is Flint looking for the owner to do post transaction from a support standpoint, from a transition standpoint?
Yeah. So I would say we've seen it all. I mean, some owners have wanted to stay on and continue to be really in the business, operating it. We've had some that kind of want to stay on in more of an advisor capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And then some folks, they've kind of hit retirement age, and they're ready for something different in life. And
Yeah.
so we've had all of those, different circumstances. And one thing that I love about Flint is we're so flexible
Mm-hmm.
with owner. And you brought up the question of like, what do we do kind of post acquisition with the
Yeah.
owner? And like I said, we're open to doing whatever the owner has wishes to do. And some people, they're like, this is my company, this is my baby. I really want to stay on and just have my hand in things that, to some extent. And so we are very flexible with that. And it's more about alignment with us. Let's have a conversation about it and just be aligned in what the owner's kind of desires are post acquisition.
Okay. Let's talk about transaction structure. And when we talk to sellers, we say, okay, there are four different components potentially of a deal. You've got the cash piece. There might be a seller note piece. There might be an earnout piece. There might be a rollover equity piece.
Yeah.
How do you guys look at each of those four?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say about that is we just like to keep it simple. I mean, we don't want to overcomplicate transaction structures, mainly for the sake of the seller, but I mean also for us. We typically will offer cash and rollover, but we don't do earnouts. So, and I don't know if viewers, are familiar with kind of what an earnout is, but
Explain it to me. Explain it to me.
yeah. So an earnout basically allows the seller to receive kind of additional compensation post sale. So if the business kind of meets certain performance goals, and then they'll get additional compensation through that. And I think earnouts, they look really nice, and they make the the numbers look big, but I would say, sometimes they can be misleading, and in cases just like impossible to trigger. And so we just try to stay away from that. We ultimately also just want to agree to a transaction structure that excites the seller. And I'll tell you, John, like rollover equity is the most valuable thing that Flint has, honestly. Like all of our rollover shareholders have made well over, 3 times their money every time we've recapped. So cash and rollover is
Okay,
typically.
so let me give you a hypothetical example, and you sort of break it down to explain it to a potential seller the way you would want them
Yeah.
to understand it. Let's say we've got an HVAC business that we've agreed that the valuation of the business is $10 million, just to pick a number,
Mhm.
and let's say we've agreed that the amount of cash portion that you're willing to pay, and the seller's willing to take, let's say that's 8 million. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say he's leaving, she's leaving $2 million of their equity in
Mhm.
the business, and that's going to be the rollover equity
Mhm.
piece. um how how would you encourage them to think about that rollover piece, and then what potential value could that have at a future date, over what period of time? How do you at that explain that, the concept of taking that equity that they're leaving in the business and not
Mhm.
selling it, and then staying involved in the business in some capacity,
Yeah.
and being able to monetize that at some point?
For sure. So I would say, just to kind of explain rollover, I guess,
Yeah.
to begin, like that would be, referring to the owner kind of retaining equity and the
It's
new
that
company.
$2 million piece.
Yeah, exactly. And so they would retain that $2 million in the new acquiring entity post acquisition. So instead of selling all of their shares for cash, they would, in the case of Flint Group acquiring a company, if a seller rolls equity in the transaction, then they would be then a minority shareholder in Flint Group.
Mhm.
And, all shareholders at Flint share the same incentives and they receive equal rights at Flint. So that kind of ensures, unity across the organization.
And then, how would that 2 million in 5 years, 7 years, whatever the period, how would the seller get a return on that investment at a future point?
Yes. So we would think of that 2 million being, they would ultimately receive 3 times their money.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, and we think of it that way because and I made a comment before about how our rollover shareholders have made well over three
Yeah.
times their money. Last year we went through Flint Group went through their own sale process and received kind of a majority investor, and that kind of solidified like shareholders are making 3 times their money, and so
Yeah.
I think we will have another recap in our future, and we feel confident that 2 million will, at least turn
Yeah.
into that six
Yeah.
million
So
over the course of the 3 to 5 years.
So in a way, it's sort of the best of both worlds. The seller's able to pull some chips off the table
Mhm.
and put some cash in the bank. They're able to stay involved in the business, maybe at the same capacity, or maybe scale back a
Yeah.
bit as management team is built around
Yeah.
them. But
Yeah.
as their business continues to grow in value over time, they are able to get that second bite of the apple, so to speak.
Yes, 1,000%. That's exactly right.
Well, that's it's a great concept that
Mhm.
again, I think, aligns everyone's short term, medium term, and long term objectives.
1,000%.
Um, let's talk about the deal process. And so, after you've made an offer,
Mhm.
and after it's been accepted,
Mhm.
but let me back up. Prior to that, when
Mhm.
you before submitting a final offer,
Mhm.
do you have a conversation? Do you have conversations with the seller? Do you meet with the seller? How is that relationship established so that they get to know you guys a bit better?
For sure. So, yes, I mean, the short answer is yes. We want to build that relationship. People at Flint are the most important thing to us. I mean, we want to take care of our people, we want to take care of our customers, and that's actually our mission statement. Take care of our people, take care of our customers, and build on the legacy. And so that relationship component is super crucial to us. And we want to get to know them. I mean, we want them to get to know us, of course, but we also want that kind of collaboration. And so building that relationship is super
Yeah.
crucial, and getting to know one another up until, agreeing to sign an LOI is definitely important.
So you'll have phone conversations with the seller. You'll have a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Will someone from your team go out and meet with them?
Yeah, yeah. We typically do like a facility visit where a few folks on our team our CEO and chairman, they'll go out and visit the shop and
Yeah.
have kind of that face to face time as well. But it looks different too for every kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever the seller, whatever they're able to do
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a mix of Zoom.
Okay. You've made offers. The offer's been accepted. Now we've got the due diligence process, the legal process. We've got a financial component. We've got some additional due diligence steps. We've got legal review. What does that look like from the seller's perspective? And how long after an offer has been accepted, how long does that process take?
So for us, it takes on average about 60 days. Now, sometimes the diligence process is longer, sometimes it's shorter. It really
Yeah.
just depends. That's probably our average, but and every firm does it differently. Like John, honestly, it's crazy to me. Some of the other acquirers out there, their process will go months and months and months long. Like it's really surprising, and we just don't want to exhaust the seller,
Right.
and we're not, looking to recut the deal in any way. So if we have conviction to submit an LOI, like we are trying to get that deal done, and not disrupt the business in the process. And so as soon as that LOI is signed, like we are off to the races. We'll usually do kind of like a kickoff call with the seller and our team the very next day, and we'll share a diligence request list with them, and that typically includes financial operations, legal related kind of items we've asked for. And we'll work with an accounting firm to do a quality of earnings, which for listeners, if they're not familiar, I guess, with the quality of
Yeah.
earnings,
Yeah.
that's basically an audit of the seller's financials to kind of assess, the accuracy of their reported profit, I guess. And that usually lasts a few weeks. And then we'll get the attorneys going on negotiating the purchase agreement. And like I talked about before, they'll do the facility visit. And so that's about how it goes. And once the attorneys have kind of, negotiated the purchase agreement, and we've gotten through all of those other steps, both parties are typically ready to sign.
Cool. What about the founder seller? At what point does he announce this to his management team, and at what point does he announce it to the employees at large?
Yeah, so I think every seller, just as far as going through the diligence process before the transaction closes, I think every seller feels a little bit different
Yeah.
about who they want to bring into the mix. We've worked with folks who, and we're okay with anything. I mean, we work with folks who are like, I'm bringing my controller in, I'm bringing my, general manager in. And then we have also sellers who were like, I don't want people to know I'm working, I'm doing this alone, or I have this one other person with me. So it really depends. I would say, a lot of times the owner will tell their employees kind of post close. At least that's what I've seen. But as far as like them telling the employees post close, not a whole lot changes with us coming in. I mean, there's at least no more changes than really any business has in a normal period of time. And so we typically close and just like let everyone take a breath.
Mhm.
And then, employees, they don't really know that nothing's changed until they can see it for themselves. And so we like to just have that period of time to like let the business just keep operating, and one thing that I think is so cool about Flint is like how much we invest in those people. And we have and I'm kind of getting on to a different topic here, but we have a curriculum that we've built out
Yeah.
at the Flint Group level that is a training material for technicians. We have them come around the country to Kansas City to meet our team and network together and train. And I think that's something so rare that a lot of our competitors out there don't offer to the techs and plumbers. And we have trainings, of course, for like managers and operators as well. But just investing in that front line is so important. And so we like to do the training with everyone and invest in literally every person in the company. And that's kind of how we've been so successful.
Does the name of the company change or does it stay the same?
No, we like to keep brands, preserve the brand,
Yeah.
and we like to keep the name and the brand as the community knows it as closely as we can to what we've acquired. I mean, sometimes there's legal things or whatever, but
Yeah.
typically we like to keep that the same, and customers want to feel familiar with
Yeah.
the brand that
Yeah.
they
So I mean, post close, as far as the customers are concerned,
yeah
very little has changed, if anything. As far as the
yeah
employees are concerned, very little has changed, if anything. Is that right?
yeah I think with customers, like, we really want to buy businesses that have great customer bases and loyal customers, and we don't want to mess that up. So if anything, we try to find processes that work really well to drive that customer loyalty, and when we find things that do drive that customer loyalty, we typically share them with the other brands, across our portfolio. And so we're kind of this blend of like best practices here at Flint, and I think customers, they care about like quality and ease of service, and
Yeah.
like we said, recognizing the brand they love. So we try to keep all of that the same.
You're buying these businesses um, because in when we talk to sellers about valuation, the
Mhm.
way we explain it is, look, the value of any business, it's a multiple of what the business's
Right,
cash flow profits are.
right.
And any buyer is going to value the business based upon the business's ability to historically produce those cash flow
Yeah.
profits, and then their ability to grow those over time.
Mhm.
And so when you're thinking about, okay, we bought this business now, we
Yeah.
want to grow this thing over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whether the time period is. What are some of the levers that you're looking to pull that's going to drive that growth?
Mm. Well, I really like that question. I think there are, so many. The first that kind of comes to mind is launching new trades.
Mhm.
So, we just acquired a plumbing business this past year that was just doing plumbing, and now we're launching HVAC, which we're all very excited about, and hopefully electrical in the near term future. So that's definitely one. I think also like you can expand service area. That's a great way to bring on
Geographically.
additional customers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so bringing in customers that you really just haven't been able to reach before. And I think, John, too, like we've just developed such an amazing playbook that grows these companies, very predictably over a long period of time. We're not sort of building companies on a typical like 5-year private equity investment cycle. I guess we're
Yeah.
building something that has long-term staying power. And so we feel like as long as the market, is big enough, and there are things like expanding service area and,
Yeah.
and launching new trades, or even finding like some cost savings, doing having some cost saving initiatives in there as well to kind of expand margin. But as long as the market's big enough, like we feel we can grow these companies with, outsized growth for the next couple of decades, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, let's say you've got, I'm, let's say I'm talking to a seller, and let's say his business right now is doing $5 million, and they're making $1 million, and that might be a little small for you right now.
Mhm.
And he says, "Well, sounds great. Sounds like I need to double the size of the business.
Mhm.
I need to get it up to a $10 million business
Yeah.
that's making two." Um, Other than the pure revenue and profit growth,
Yeah.
what are the two or three things that you would encourage that seller to focus on as they're growing the business to
Mhm.
make it attractive for someone like Flint?
For sure. So I would say, and we always kind of say this here at Flint, like learn how to do the basics really well, and the rest will follow. Invest in your people too, and kind of the money follows that, and be disciplined to do those basics that you know how to do really well over and over and over again without getting bored. And I'd say, identify what your strengths are, and then take note of like what you think your weaknesses are, and try to pinpoint like what can I fix now, and what do I need to bring in a partner for. And whatever you can fix now, like find a solution or ask for help. I mean, at the end of the day, I always point owners to talk to our founders, Trevor
Yeah,
and Colin, because there really isn't like a magic bullet with these companies. I mean, every company is different. Every company has something they want to fix or improve on. And it's just trying to find that right solution. And I think, at least with our founders, like, and just for you, because people out there that are interested in selling their business, like they are so generous with their time and love
yeah,
chatting with people. And so if someone asks for help, like they get on the phone, and they chop it up with the owners, and help. We just actually had someone reach out to Colin maybe last week and say, hey, I met you one time, and we chatted about X, Y, and Z, and now I'm having this problem in my business, and like I would love to talk to you about it and get your feedback. And so I think asking for help is like such a huge part of that, of growing and developing your business.
yeah. Well, that's awesome, and those are certainly good points of recommendation for folks to focus on. Anything in closing that you would encourage sellers to be thinking about as they're thinking about calendar year 25, and continuing to maximize the value of the business, and make the business attractive for groups?
Well, I think just from, I guess, from my perspective, being an M&A, it's really important for sellers to sort of learn what the private equity world is about, and learn about the different strategies and approaches that each PE firm brings to the table. I mean, every single one is different. And I think one kind of question that I get all the time is like, how are we different? Or PE firms all feel the same, like, and so I think doing kind of your research, and having conversations, like I'm always happy to chat with people,
Yeah,
and talk to them about the M&A process and all of that, to just give them some more comfortability about it. Because I think there's a buyer out there for all types of businesses, and it's just finding kind of the right one. And yeah.
well, that's great. That's great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. And if someone wants to get in touch with you about their business, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
I mean, email, and you're welcome to provide my contact
Yeah,
information.
I'll do that.
Email and phone are both great. I will pick up my phone. I'll answer your email quickly. So either, and if anybody wants to message me on LinkedIn, that's okay too. So
Awesome. Well,
whatever
that's awesome.
works.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This has
Thank
been
you so
awesome.
much,
Okay.
Sean. So glad
Have a
we get
great weekend.
you
Thank
too.
you. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.